Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Berta. I talk about all things fashion, history and film. Go through my channel, hopefully we can find some common ground, some kind of interest, but I've been doing this for a long time, so feel free to have a browse. So as you can tell by the title, if you're a bit confused or quite interested, I'm doing about the parallels between Oppenheimer and the Barbie film. So the main topic, as you can tell, is about the creator and their creation from idea to product and the consequences of that. So in a way, this is kind of a film analysis, but also a creative analysis from one creative person to another. So if you can resonate with that or if of interest to you, feel free to stay through and let's get started.
Fashion is a lifestyle.
Basically, the topic about the creator and its creation, that was one of the first things I noticed about the similarities between Oppenheimer and Barbie is creation and being a creative person and creating. It's such a dynamic thing, and I really feel honestly that they're both two sides of the same coin. Oppenheimer is an idea. He is the creator. He has created something without thinking of the possible consequences. Barbie is the outcome of a creation. She is the outcome of a creator and their idea, and she does not want to be what the creator intended her to be. So it's really funny if you look at it that way. They're so similar. Then up just automatically, I didn't even think about it, I just automatically was looking at both films through a creative lens and a creative eye, and it made me think about how a scientist with its creativity and ideas and theories without limitations can cause such destruction and can be so dangerous, and how a creative person, even just as simple as a doll maker, without limitations or weighing the outcomes of their creation, their idea, can cause such harm and I guess gratification and such changes to society. Both actually, ironically enough as well, another parallel is both affected society and both affected history in a way that they both did not intend for it to. Creation spiraled and snowballed into something that they did not expect. And if you look at both movies from a creative eye, it's actually a great lesson for creative people who have ideas and want to create something for people or for themselves or for just to get it out of their head in general, is that your creation and your idea will always have a mind of its own. Once you put it out there, it will have its own way of being. Simple as that. Simple as that. You can look at so many artists, you can look at so many inventors, you can look at so many theories and formulas and equations, and they all, at the end of the day, in a way, no matter how many times you calculate it, your idea will have a mind of its own. Your creation will have a mind of its own, and you have no control of it once it's out there. You don't know how the rest of the world is going to react to it. You don't know the implications, good and bad, that it's going to have on it. You don't know its future outcomes. And that's one of the great mysteries of creating. Was so driven by just having his idea become a reality that he just wanted to be real. He was like, I want to make this thing happen. I know I can make it happen. I want to prove all these people wrong, that it can become a thing and it can happen. But he got so lost in the creation of it that he did not think about the consequences. He did not think about the lives it would impact, the outcome it would have for future implications. He was just so driven by the creative process and the process itself that he did not weigh it. With Barbie too, Ruth and her husband, they probably just thought about creating something that kids can play with, something that they can not be stuck inside a box of what society expects them to be, but to actually push that idealism and push that concept and be like, women can do this, give girls the freedom that women couldn't have at the time. Let them use their imaginations in a way that the world that they lived in at that time would not let them. But obviously did not see the implications of how that would affect those little girls as they grew up. Didn't expect how capitalism would actually feed off of it and use it to their advantage, just as Strauss used Oppenheimer to his advantage. Another parallel, they both got used. Their creation and their ideas got used. They really interlink so well. So it's not just so much about the both movies coming out at the same time. If you really do try to watch it back to back, or really nitpick at it, or see it for what it is, or look at it from a different perspective and a different lens, they are so intricately intertwined. And it doesn't matter if you're a scientist or you make doll houses and dolls. When it comes to creating something that doesn't exist yet, or doesn't exist, period, they were very interwoven. And it's actually ironic enough, and I don't think anyone, or maybe they have thought of it, or some people have thought about it, putting those movies out at the same time was very strategic, because the message is quite similar. A lot of people talk about that enough. There's some movies about it. Like I straight away went to that movie called Velvet Buzzsaw. If you've seen it on Netflix, and it has Jake Gyllenhaal in it. It's about an artist and his creative process and creativity. And it's like a horror take on it. And I think that's the only movie I've seen recently that kind of talks about it, and how like creativity in general can be horrific. And the process itself, like there's not that many movies about it. So I feel like that's another great area that I would love to see touched on, because people create stuff every day. It doesn't matter how big or small, like people are always creating something. You can't run from creativity. Like as much as the film industry wants to create and get rid of creativity with AI, you can't like run from it. It's everywhere. The chair that you sit on, someone created. The computer that you use, someone created it. Like everyone is a creator. Basic necessities that you use, tools, someone created it. That came from somebody's mind, someone's idea. But it just goes to show how a creative process can be quite, like the person can get so lost in it, and how it can be so damaging. But it can also have such positive outcomes too. Like it's not a Debbie Downer video I'm trying to make, but like because of Oppenheimer, we now know, I guess, the power that we can wield, a type of tool that we can as humans create, and how that itself created a limitation, ironically enough. That itself, the bomb itself, created a limitation not to do it again. Barbie has evolved and now is more inclusive and diverse, because it's learned not to put Barbie in a box and not to sell her as if she's still in a box, especially when times have changed, and how not to capitalize off of the insecurities, you know, of women and children and whatever, you know, like it's opened the doors at the same time. So in a way, like those implications have itself become lessons. Do you know what I'm saying? It's nothing serious, nothing prolonged. It's just want to see if somebody else out there watched Barbieheimer and saw both movies and thought, hey, yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, that's a bit uncanny, isn't it? Or like, yeah, they really are so similar. They literally are two sides of the same coin, or they're basically a continuation of one long string. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's basically the reason why I made this video, so I could be like, hey, does anybody else out there kind of understand what I'm saying and kind of see the same way that I'm seeing it? Like, that's why it was kind of hard for me to see Oppenheimer and be like, oh, like good on them, or like atrocity, or like, you know, I was and just like, wow, what a dude, or like, ew, what a dude. I was like, oh, the creative problems, yikes. And I was looking at Barbie, like, not like, oh, so feminism, and like, oh, that's so funny, or like, oh yeah. I was like, oh wow, the implications of creativity. Like, that's kind of thing you don't think about it. And I honestly have never even thought about it myself when I've created so many projects and done stuff, and I'm like, the last thing you even think about is the outcome, because you're so focused on creating it and you want it to work and you want it to get from your head into real life. So the last thing you're going to think about is, oh yeah, how's it actually going to impact everybody else? Like, you really do that unless you're trying to sell something. I guess for marketing purposes, of course, they have to think about how is this going to affect everybody else. And because you've got, I guess, not all, I'm not generalizing them, not all creative people, some, we don't really think about, oh yeah, how's that going to affect somebody else's lives? I mean, if you're selling something, you might think, okay, yeah, how's that going to affect it? But I'm talking about society-wise and historically-wise, like, because no one knows how big or small of an impact a creative outcome or project or product or idea is going to end up being until it's done. Video, I'm so sorry, and I probably sound like I'm just babbling, but I'm really curious if anyone else out there has seen the movies in a perspective that I have, and if you've understood it in a way that I have, if you relate in a way. And if you don't get what I'm saying, I hope maybe you can somehow along the track you get it, what I'm trying to say, and you're like, oh yeah, I see it now. And it's food for thought. This video is purely just food for thought. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't babble on too much and fill your head up. I hope you can kind of understand and see where I'm coming from, like the perspective I'm trying to get at from here. And hopefully I encouraged a thought. You never know. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time, hopefully. Bye.
It's on an attitude.